All right. Well, we are live. All right, guys. Welcome back to You, Me, and Us. This is episode 2. Um, I got with me a very special, happy, excited Southern guest in 10th Planet Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, Brandon Mccaghren from 10th Planet, Decatur, Alabama. How's it going today, Brandon?
I'm amazing. How are you, my lovely Canadian brother?
I am almost as amazing, but you sound more amazing than me. Now I'm jealous.
I am more amazing than you. I was just trying to make you feel good.
Okay, well, now we got that out of the way. How's things been going? You've been training hard lately, hey?
I've been training a lot, man. Body's feeling well. Actually, my back's a little bit sore. I've been down for about 2 days. Not down like where I think I have an injury, just sore.
Yeah.
I haven't really trained much the last couple of days, but other than that, I've been feeling amazing. I think I'll be back to it. As this call's over, I'll jump on an open mat.
Yeah. I remember when I was down there training with you a couple months ago, the hot tub was the way. That was the way to soothe all the aches and pains after training. Is that still working for you, or not keeping up to the back pain?
Yeah, the hot tub's where it's at for sure. I don't. We got into that off of the information that Rhonda Patrick was given about the sauna.
Okay.
But I think I got PTSD off a sauna or something. I just can't. I can't have one at my house, so we got a hot tub instead.
You a little claustrophobic?
No, dude, I just don't want it. It just reminds me of cutting weight, and I'm done with that forever.
Yeah. When was the last time you used a sauna to cut weight?
Brown belt, so a couple years back.
Yeah.
We're doing it anymore.
You just got to come in fat. Come in fat and healthy and happy.
Yeah, I'm down. My weight's down right now. I'm about 172. I was 172.3 when I woke up this morning. So
You weigh yourself every day, even though you're not competing right now?
yeah, it's just a good way for me to it's just a good metric to know, all right, Brandon, you're being a slob. I like numbers like that, just to kind of keep me on track a bit.
Yeah, my wife actually gets angry when I check my weight every day when I don't have something coming up. She's like, "You're skinny. Don't do that."
It's just a way for me to know it's confirmation, I guess, that I'm doing things the right way.
Or conversely, the wrong way.
I did drink a whole large French fry, and I'm drinking a Coke Zero.
Well, Coke Zero doesn't count, right? That's what the zero's for.
That's right. But the French fries do count. But it's Sunday, brother.
That's right.
Have a day where you just go nuts.
About to go nuts on an open mat.
I am. What's going on, man? Tell me about this podcast.
I am having fun checking out Twitch. Twitch is a fun platform. Generally, it started off. This is going to be the layman's version of the history of Twitch, as far as I understand it. Is it's mostly meant for video gaming, for streaming for gamers. It started off as Justin TV and then moved over to Twitch and kind of exploded pretty recently here. Like, I mean, it's been big in the gaming world, but as you can see now, we've got IRL file or little groupings instead of just gaming. So in real life can be anything. There's people on here that are painting. You can just watch them paint. There's people there that are there's literally channels to watch people eat their food. I don't know if that's for
On that one.
that's like to me that's like the torturous version of food porn. It's bad enough watching it being made on the food channel, but it's even worse watching somebody eat it and you just salivate. Like, why do people hate themselves?
I don't know, but that sounds okay. Yes. I don't think I could watch that. Dude, when I first started my website, or when we were first kind of doing the idea, we were going to do it on Twitch.
Okay.
At that time, it was only video game players were allowed.
Yeah.
Right? And so I had a student, and he makes, dude, well over 6 figures a year. He plays one game on Twitch. One game.
Yeah.
He worked for NASA. I'm serious. He quit his job because he's making more money playing one video game.
That's the biggest slap in the face to every good parent that raised a smart, educated, young individual. I'm going to get you into rocket science, and you're going to be just the shining example of what our education says. Nah, I'm going to play video games. It makes more money.
And it's not even like a cool video game. I've never heard of it other than him. It's called DayZ. You ever heard of that?
Never ever. What's it about?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I watch him every now and then. It's just him walking around.
So maybe there is something to watching people eat food if you can make six figures doing this.
Bro, people just throw money at him. His name is KD Wolf. You're looking.
Okay, shout out to KD Wolf.
It's listening. KD Wolf on Twitch. But he's got like tens of thousands of followers and subscribers and all that stuff. And they're all like, you'll watch his stream and people are just donating money all the time. And then he's got a bunch of people who pay $5 a month to have special chat emojis and stuff.
It's a cool way to increase content because it becomes worthwhile for the content creator, and B, the interaction, which if you notice over to the side, those of you watching the video, we got a chat bar over here, which is live during the stream. And it's the name of the podcast or vlog or whatever you want to call it, the video podcast, is You, Me, and Us. And my guest, Brandon.
Greatest name for a jiu-jitsu podcast of all time.
Yeah, thanks.
It's amazing. I was laughing so hard to Lindsay yesterday about the name. I say Oos.
Yeah, there's people asking me yesterday, so is it Oos, Us, Os? I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's not even a real word.
It's not. Well, I've literally never said that in the way that it's intended to be. I only have said it sarcastically.
Yeah. I think if there was a metric, a statistic of number of times it's been used ironically as opposed to realistically, it's probably like 80% irony.
It's definitely skewed towards irony.
Yeah, so getting back to the name, the you in this is going to be my guest, my beautiful guest, Brandon. Me is obviously me, and us is everybody watching. So you, me, and us. And if you're in the us category over in the chats, you can chat the whole podcast long. That's fine. And we're going to try to get a few questions. If you got something specific towards me or towards Brandon or whoever the guest is, we'll get that in at the end for like 10 minutes or so. We'll get a few questions answered. So feel free to dump them in there and we'll just get back to it at that point. We're not ignoring you. We just don't care about you enough to give you run of the place the whole time.
Shoot me the Twitch link and I'll post it up on my Instagram real fast.
Yeah, you bet. I'll grab the old phone here and do that. Talk about multitasking. My wife doesn't believe I can multitask, but I'm about to prove her wrong.
I wonder if any of us can, actually. Dude, I've been reading this book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. You ever heard of this?
No, tell me about it.
So what he advocates, he starts out by talking about Carl Jung.
Okay.
The great analytical psychologist, a student of Sigmund Freud.
Uh-huh.
And he talks about how Jung built a cabin in the woods just to go and isolate himself and do his thinking and do his writing. Not a vacation home, but like that's where he would do his work. And so basically the book is saying that, and I'm not through with it yet, right? I'm only about maybe a third of the way through it. But his point that he's trying to get around to is that we're so distracted now by our multitasking and our phone, which we all know this inherently. We all know that we are, but we're addicted to them so badly that we actually can't get any meaningful work done. And his point is that as we move forward, it's not going to be those of us with hard technological skills or whatever that move up the ladder in our particular fields or in our particular workforce. It's going to be those who have developed the skill, which he believes deep work is a skill. It's going to be those of us who have developed the skill of deep work, deep concentration that are going to rise to the top. And he goes through a lot of really compelling examples and stories on it. So,
well, what would be your definition of deep work as opposed to what we do, which is make memes?
The way that I work generally is not deep work. Although I have to say, man, what got me thinking about this and kind of looking for it and how I found this book is I've had a podcast for a little over a year. But on June 1st, I started doing a daily podcast every morning.
Yeah, that's right.
15 minutes, right? And in order to do that, what I do is I leave the house. I come up to the gym before anybody gets here to my office. And I just sit. I turn the phone off. I disconnect the internet connection here I turn off the internet on the computer. And I just sit and type and write. That's it. And that's how the kind of daily podcast got started. Is I just started going, man, I'm giving these thoughts to myself. I was just doing it like therapeutically, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like to get away from my phone, basically. I'm trying to break up with my iPhone. Like she's still gonna be my side chick, but I ain't trying to like.
Yeah, she knows her place. Eh?
No more, yeah. And so, yeah, it's been incredibly productive for me, and just that little daily ritual has already benefited me tremendously. And I'm only maybe like 3.5 weeks into it.
Hmm. Yeah, well, there's been a thing in all sorts of contemplative theories or practices around the world of escaping and getting on retreats, silent retreats, meditation retreats. I am not of the mind that it needs to be a specific amount of time to get anything useful out of it. Like you're saying, you're getting 15, 20 minutes in the morning. You may not.
Well, no, I'm giving 15 to 20 minutes of a podcast. I'm getting 2-3 hours.
Oh, you are?
Alone.
Okay. Well, I mean, you see people, it's become very popular in the last, I don't know, decade for sure, but 5 years more or less, of the float tanks and the isolation tanks. And it's a way to, in the middle of society, whether you're in a big city or not, get to somewhere where you can have zero anything input. And you may not be in the mountains of Tibet on a 3-month meditation escape, but you can get a lot of thinking done in 1 hour when you have no input whatsoever.
Yeah, I did float tank for the first time here about a month ago.
Yeah, me too.
And it was really interesting experience. I definitely didn't get like, you know, if Rogan is to be believed, it's the most intense psychedelic experience.
Not as much.
Didn't have anything that resembled a psychedelic experience, but it was, for me, I really like noticed the physical benefits of it. I was like, man, if I did this every day before, after training, just sometime during the day, your body just lets go. After about 10 minutes, you just let go. And I was like, man, this like weightlessness would be so good for healing. Maybe even better than the heat shock proteins that I've been trying to stimulate.
Well, why not both, right? I was listening to a Sam Harris podcast a while ago, and he likes to get in guests besides the scientific ones that he brings in, obviously, because he's a neuroscientist. He likes to bring in people who are big into meditation because he's himself big into meditation. And he was talking to this one person about a specific type of meditation over in, I don't know, somewhere in Tibet, I'm guessing, where it's all the rage. I don't know, I don't remember the name of it. Oh, the rage. Yeah, it's so fad. There's it's like fashion in Paris. If you want to meditate, you do it in Tibet. And there's a specific brand, the specific offshoot of meditators who literally all they do is they lie flat on the floor and try to release as much of their body as they can. And what I mean by that is they just focus on their breath and they slowly, one bit at a time, sort of relax the shoulders, relax the head, relax, and all these muscles. And once you feel fully relaxed, you're not fully relaxed. You can go more. And they'll literally lie there for days at a time, not doing anything and just relaxing more and more until they melt into the floor. And I feel like there's a little touch of that in the isolation tank because it's 0G, right?
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, you don't notice it at all. You don't even feel the water on your skin. Really, it's the same temperature as your body, or it's supposed to be. Like you can notice it at first, but once you're in and you kind of start to let go, it's soundproof. It's same temperature as your skin, so it's 98.6, and then there's no visuals at all. It's total darkness. So it was pretty awesome, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I had probably an inflated idea of what to expect when I went in there for the same reason. I was listening to Joe Rogan for long enough that he gets it in your head that's like, no, you got to understand, this is the greatest thing of all time, period. And I was like, okay, so we'll start from there and it can only get better. Well, after lying in water, which I've done many times before, even though it's warm and you're floating, it's like, okay, it's kind of like a bath. That's a little less than I was expecting. And then I noticed
How I felt. Yeah.
yeah, I made I
The thing is, the saltwater content keeps you afloat,
yeah,
so it's impossible for me to touch the sides and touch the bottom. And that I thought was the most valuable part of it, was just the saltwater content, not the isolation.
sure.
I felt like it was physically going to be healing for me, allowing my joints to settle into the right spot, taking the weight off my back, no weight on my knees, my neck really started to like let go and drop through. And so I started to find like my natural proper posture.
Hmm.
And and I did 90 minutes. And so after 90 minutes, man, I was like, dude, I'm born again.
Yeah, coming out of there is something different, that's for sure. I remember like there's little bits of it that I remember trying to remember. So what I mean is like something would be interesting to me and I'd be like, okay, I want to try to remember this in my brain so when I get out, I can express what this is to somebody who asks. And one of those things, I made the mistake at first. They gave me earplugs. I didn't wear them, and I it was a mistake because one thing I didn't remember from one of Rogan's podcasts, the 150 times he's talked about it, maybe one or two times he's mentioned, oh, and I like to put my hands behind my head so that I support my neck. And like 15 minutes in, my ears have been under the water the whole time, just sucking in salt water and I noticed like because this zero G, everything, if you picture the surface of water is all flat, well, that isn't actually what your posture should be. So my head was like leaning back and I was getting neck pains. I'm like, okay, if everything else feels really comfortable, but my neck is killing me. So I put my hands under it finally. I'm like, oh, all right. Okay, yeah, that feels better. And so that would be a piece of advice I'd give.
I laid back, I threw my arms up in the touchdown Jesus pose, and I was good to go. I wish you could do it belly down somehow, like if you had a scuba tank.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to.
Isolation tank is missing.
Well, hey, apparently space is going to be the new frontier now. Finally, Gene Roddenberry's probably just praising Jesus in his grave.
So confused. I'm so confused by Space Force.
Yeah, let's touch on that.
I've looked into it exactly 0%,
Uh huh.
but I don't understand what is going on in the world. Like
Yeah,
it seems so strange to me now. Like I have no idea what anybody is thinking anymore if they don't do jujitsu full time.
yeah.
Like I can't relate to anybody.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with you being out of the loop because this, I think, as a human species, is a giant curveball. When it entered, it came from sci-fi and literally entered reality. We're like, me myself, I was like, whoa, 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 you don't actually belong in reality. Wait, what? We're actually going up into space and we're creating a space force, a military branch for why? Why are we doing this? What is going on?
Where did it come from? Like who's I didn't hear anything. I mean, again, I'm not in the or the actual loop, but I I didn't see this coming. I mean, has anybody been talking about? You know what we really need, man. Trump's been talking about adding some space force these days.
Yeah, no.
That's a good. There's no space force debate. It's just like, hey, new branch of the military. Military. It's in space.
Yeah, it was literally that fast. Now, think about this. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I'm like, if you were to write up what has happened in the lead up to the elections and the presidency of Donald Trump, and since then till now, as a script for Hollywood, you would have it thrown in your face because it would be way too unbelievable. Nobody would buy it. And yet, here we are living in reality. I think this is reality because I don't even know anymore. Like, we're talking Space Force for some reason. And, like, the weirdest part about this is lately, like, just before this Space Force dropped, it was all about Kim Jong-un shaking hands over in Singapore. We've got peace. There's this great deal. It's huge. It's going to be tremendous. And then, like in the next breath, he says, "Oh, and also we need to militarize space."
What? This is, this to me is just more proof we live in the Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, it's more believable.
It makes sense to me. I don't know what's going on.
I wonder if
I'll pull some stuff off in Jiu-Jitsu where I'm like, yeah, this is not real.
yeah,
There's no way you can do that to a person.
I wonder if we have an arbiter of this alternate reality or this fake reality we're living in who's just keeps trying to hint at it, seeing if he can poke just enough to get us on the clue. Be like, I wonder if they realize I'm gonna do something really wacky just to see. Oh, a couple of them got it, but they still don't believe it. Yeah, it's all sorts of strange. Here's the thing that actually, besides the actual discussion, the introduction of Space Force as a real thing, besides that, the thing that struck me just as weird that happened at the same time was how people reacted to it. Now, on my end of the world, when I heard that, the first thing that struck me was why? Like, there has to be a why. This isn't just like I woke up one day and decided we need people in space shooting each other.
I think you're wrong. I think
Okay, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but everybody,
I think so. Yeah, you may be. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah, the thing that weirded me out was how everybody else seemed to be reacting on my Facebook feed and in life talking to people and on Instagram. They seemed to either A, think it was a great idea, awesome idea. It's going to boost the economy, it's going to raise us technologically, it's all good things. Or the other people are just making fun of it, which is like, I understand the making fun of it part, but is nobody else here concerned why this is going on? Like for me, when it hit me, the first thing I thought was, okay, so he's basically just admitting that they've been militarizing space for a while now. I mean, people have pretty much assumed that. And but to say that we need one now publicly to me means that they've already got it. And maybe on top of that, somebody else does as well. And so now he needs a public push like, "Oh, by the way, Russia's up there now," or "Oh, by the way, China's up there now." Like what is the push for that dominance?
I don't know what's going on. Or maybe we found out that somebody else was going up there and we had to beat them there.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like an arms race.
What it really comes down to is that even is it even real? Like, is that even something we can do? I think he just wanted to spin like, well, we got to have something to tax people for. I guess let's just tell them we're going to build a space force and we need more money. Like Jesus,
Oh man. It was probably like a misguided tweet.
crazy as we think.
I don't think it's going to be any less crazy than we think. I think it can only get crazier. Like, you think about why would we do this? The thing that strikes me is if someone has actual dominance of space, they what type of oversight is there? There's nobody up there, you know, adjudicating what they do. They can go around the earth as much as they want, over whoever they want. It's kind of Wild West again. Like there's no police up there for them, you know what I mean?
Well, who are we going to fight up there? Or are we going to go up there and like shoot Kim Jong Un?
Yeah, this could be shooting back on ourselves, or of course the conspiracy theorists. Once they got their tinfoil hats on about this, they're just, this is obvious proof of aliens.
I think it's obvious proof of madness, is what I think. I don't know, man. Space Force.
Yeah. Well,
At least somebody more educated than me should be talking about it. And I should probably not be allowed to say the word Space Force anymore.
I already saw T-shirts being printed in the NASA font that says Space Force. It's so perfect.
That's a good idea.
So
That's like, is Space Force already trademarked where you can't do that?
that's a good question.
T-shirt.
That's a good question. I wonder if it's considered stolen valor if nobody's done it yet.
I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
In my own space.
you can just call yourself a general of the Space Force Army because nobody else is yet. Maybe you can be grandfathered in.
Applegate. Somebody was talking about Space Force on Facebook the other day, and Applegate posted a picture of some cannabis gummy bears. He said, "This is how you join Space Force." He's right.
Interesting segue. Um, so that's the big news that's been going on in the States is Space Force. But yesterday there was big news. I know, weird, right? But yesterday in Canada, where I'm at, there was big news dropped by our ridiculous prime minister, which is another topic all on its own. But one of the platforms that he got elected on was making marijuana legal. And now a date has been dropped, officially October 17th of this year. Marijuana in all forms will be legal across all provinces federally.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, are they putting like restrictions on it, or it's just like no?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's kind of like the opposite from what I understand of what goes on in the states. For my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, federally, marijuana is illegal, but at the state level, they can make their own laws regarding it. Is that right?
That is correct.
It's kind of a little bit of the opposite up here in that federally, it's been just made legal as of October 17th, coming up, but they can put uh, different rules in place province to province. So when I heard that, I looked up this graph, which I actually got in the background here. I'm going to pull up.
You got a weed graph.
I got a weed graph. Yeah, you believe it or not, this comes from the Canadian. This comes from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. So they have a weed graph. Yeah, it actually has a marijuana leaf imprinted on the back. It's it's dope. Yeah, I did it. I went there. So in Alberta, where I'm at, they don't give a fuck. They can let kids do it at 18 plus now, just like drinking and smoking. 18 plus. Um, you can grow up to 4 plants in any given household. Uh, it's illegal to smoke in cars, areas frequented by children, or tobacco restricted areas. So essentially, where you can't smoke. Um, as well as it will be legal to purchase from private retail stores and provincial online sales. So it'll be,
Got to purchase it from somebody that's got like a license.
yes,
Be able to grab it up from
yeah,
a boy.
basically like cigarettes, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Like cigarettes are still illegal to sell privately, right?
Yeah, I think so. I actually don't know. Oh, sorry. Was that my computer that made that noise?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't hear it? Okay, great. It's like the message popping up noise came on. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So, um, yeah, as far as it seems like it's basically under the same regulations in where I'm at, or it's going to be as cigarettes or drinking is concerned, which I guess makes sense. It's a recreational way to loosen up.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I'm more in favor of alcohol and cigarettes being illegal than I am of cannabis being illegal.
Hmm.
I've seen lives ruined with both of those. I've yet to see a life ruined solely from cannabis.
Sure.
Plenty of people ruin their lives that participate in weedy activities, but they're usually on the path to ruining their lives with the weed.
Yeah, that was just growing along the wayside of the same path.
Yeah,
So, being
super illegal where I'm at in Alabama. You can't have anything, which is fine. Whatever. I actually don't really care.
no.
One way or the other.
Well, I mean, let's dive into it. Being in 10th Planet, it seems to be part of the zeitgeist of that particular group of people.
You know what? I think with 10th Planet, it's just that most of the guys don't mind saying it out loud.
Yeah,
I've yet come across anybody in any of the sports that I've been involved in. Not anybody, but it's very, very common.
yeah, for sure it is.
Football, video games, jiu-jitsu, MMA, people who go to church, people who don't, like whatever. It's been part of human culture for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it just makes sense that it's popular in the 10th planet because it's popular everywhere. We just happen to have a really loud person at the head of our organization. That's really it.
Yeah. So, in your experience, whether personal or anecdotal, um, what is the use for pot as far as jujitsu? Because I got a couple students that use it therapeutically, I would say, not medicinally, because it's not a disease that they're treating, but they use it to help them after training with inflammation, with relaxing, going to sleep afterwards, and I think that there's definitely something to that.
Let me just speak about it anecdotally,
Hmm.
as that would be the appropriate thing to do. So let me speak from others' experiences, others' point of view. My understanding is that it's very good for, is it any different than what we're talking about the float tank? It allows
For
the
sure.
body to relax, which allows it to heal itself. Okay, it allows. My understanding of what cannabis actually does to you neurologically is that it doesn't um, stop your brain from functioning in a certain way, or it doesn't damage brain function. What it actually does is, like, let's say there's a neural pathway. It goes from point A to point B to point C, right? Connects the dots. Well, um, like in the case of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, what happens is that A, B, C gets broken at B. I'm speaking like a total redneck layperson here. Keep that in mind as I say this. A, then B, then C, but B gets broken in a neurological disease such as that. And so now A and C can no longer connect, right?
Follow
The
it.
reason that marijuana helps Parkinson's or Alzheimer's is that it allows A and C to connect by taking a route around and finding an alternate B, if that makes sense. So maybe we'll call it D. So now it goes A, D, B, but it ends up in the same place, which of course changes the way that you think. If that was a thought, then that thought is now different. If that was a motor function, that motor function is now different. And so if you're having neurological symptoms and you're shaking and jerking because B doesn't work or A can't get to C, A can now get to C just through a different path than what you're used to. Which
So,
is why you get the flood of thoughts in the frontal cortex and all that stuff. So it makes those things connect. So it builds paths, it builds extra neural pathways around the outside of that original neural pathway.
so I'm curious.
Redneck talk.
That was actually the most PhD redneck talk I've heard in a long time, and I'm gonna take you at your word.
I just read that on the internet. That's wrong. Don't talk to me about it. I'm I'm barely educated enough to read.
That's okay. I'm gonna talk to you about it anyways. Um, so if we use that theory that you just gave us about building a different pathway around to connect the same dots, would you say it might be ill-advised to use when you're learning new things in jujitsu? Because then you might build a path that you wouldn't have when you're not high.
I don't know. I don't think I'm the expert to talk to on this. It's not my area of expertise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I know a guy.
Yeah. Well, I remember Eddie saying that he liked to use it while he was actually sparring, but not when he was learning, because he found it hard to concentrate on things he didn't understand.
I don't think I knew
I heard him say that somewhere.
that. Is that he uses it at all times and for all. I know he's. He told me he's never competed stone before.
Oh, really? Hmm.
He just gets too nervous. What Eddie says is it just enhances the way that you already feel. It just makes that more intense. So if you're nervous leading into a competition, prepare yourself. You're going to be more nervous. If you're loose and relaxed going in, you're going to be even more loose and relaxed. So Jeff Glover, on the other hand, record is saying never competed, not high.
Yeah, well, he's another one that stirred the pot, quote unquote, stirred the pot lately with his, what was the name of his tournament he did? High Rollers.
High rollers with a Z.
Yeah.
That was my major problem with it. Is the misspelling. That I can't deal with that. I could you do whatever you want to do, but don't misspell the word intentionally.
It's too ghetto for you, hey? They even had it in like a graffiti font. So, what was your take on that? Because the jujitsu world kind of exploded for a couple days after that, and Jeff was getting in the comment sections and telling people off for like 48 hours.
Oh, I didn't ever see him address it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was anyone who was rude to him, he was just slapping them down.
I only saw a Reddit thread. That's all. I don't pay attention to the community. I know that's terrible, but I don't pay attention to the community that much. And that's why what we're talking about now is why.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of white belts and blue belts at jujitsu and at life, spitting their ideas and just basically throwing up their ideas on top of your face. Like, just get out of here, dude. I don't care. I wouldn't care what you have to say about any topic at any time. And now you're forcing this down my throat. Get lost. I couldn't care any less. Not about everybody, of course. Like, if you have an intelligent opinion, an informed opinion, an educated opinion, then by all means, throw up on my face. But, dude, a bunch of white belts and blue belts at life, not at jujitsu, at life. Just miss me with that.
Yeah, that's social media in a nutshell.
It really is.
The problem is, some people will tell you to just avoid the comment sections, period. But then you're going to also be avoiding the intelligent ones, which you might learn from. So I think that's better to just,
Other ways to learn.
yeah, there is.
Ways to learn.
But would you agree that it's also good just to build a thick skin to it?
In some ways, but I think we need a thin skin. I think that's a very human characteristic. I think we need a thick skin also. So I guess I believe that both are true at the same time. That we need to be thin skinned. That's what makes us human. Is the sensitivity to your feelings, the sensitivity to how you feel about this subject. That's important to me. I want to make sure that I'm not offending you unnecessarily just because I feel a certain way or I think it should be this way. That's immature and silly. But at the same time, it's immature and silly for you to get all tore up about something that other people are doing or other people's opinions. So when I first got, I'm not like some famous guy or whatever, but I've slowly over the last year and a half or so started building a bit of a following on social media.
Oh, don't be modest. You've got over 20,000 followers.
Well, but I'm no Drew Weatherhead. That's what I'm trying to say. I've got some people who listen to me. That is true, but not enough to call me an influencer or whatever. But when I first started, I guess, kind of having people comment and say things to me and about me on the internet, other than like my circle of friends that I actually know, that was a little bit difficult for me. I took it personally. And so I had to grow. And that has come with some good and some bad. Because now there's some things I should be paying attention to that I don't pay attention to because I'm thick skinned.
Right.
But there's some things that absolutely do not deserve my attention that don't get my attention that would have prior to. The world's just different, man. I know that's so. I mean, it's just strange.
I think that we're in a transitionary period, quite honestly. And I was thinking about this the other day if we want to get super meta. Um, when I was a kid, say late 80s, early 90s, the technology back then was transitioning from 8-track to cassette to CD to DVD as we went forward to MP3, and now everything is digital. I'm wondering, like, because I was thinking because of my girls, my kids, I'm thinking they aren't really going to know what a hard copy is of almost anything. Like, they're at the tail end of an MP3 player, and everything is just now on phones, which are becoming more and more ubiquitous, and people are thinking it might start becoming internal, like they're going to be like implants. I'm wondering at what point, um, like, knowledge, information, and communication is going to become like less of a hard thing in the physical world and more of just out in the air. You know what I mean? Like it seems to be going in that direction, technology.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think that we are going to move away. You know, I heard somebody talking about this with Google the other day. Even something like your memory is not as good as it used to be.
Hmm.
Phone numbers, email addresses, somebody's middle name. You don't need that stuff anymore. You don't. That's wasted in your mind to know somebody's phone number, right?
Yeah,
Because it's very simple. Just set it and forget it. It's in your phone. Oh, I need a fact about who was the 33rd president. No, you don't.
yeah.
Hey Siri, who was the 33rd president?
Well, this shows how ahead of the time that Albert Einstein was, because he was quoted as saying, "You just found out."
Harry S. Truman, April 12, 1945 to January 20, 1953.
Yeah,
I told you that.
no, don't care either.
Siri.
Yeah, Einstein was quoted saying, "I don't memorize anything that can be found in a book." It's
I've never heard that.
yeah,
It makes a lot of sense. I think that's where we're moving.
hmm
Rather than book, it's how easy was that to access? I don't have to go to the library to find that information.
no,
The problem is, well, I guess this was the problem with books. Are they true? Is that information
yeah,
true?
yeah. Well, there was
Relying on that Siri knows what she's talking about. But before, I was just relying on that book knew what it was talking about.
yeah. I got an Alexa at home, so FBI, if you didn't know already, you can get into my house now.
I'm trying to get into that.
Yeah, but it is the dumbest thing. Like it's not good yet. It's not good. You ask it questions.
Google Home, and I like it.
Yeah, I don't know because half the time it's referencing Wikipedia. You know what I mean? Like Wikipedia, you can edit as a casual user.
That's funny. I use Siri for the most part. I've gotten to where I'm using pretty much like voice as my communication with my phone, and it's actually helping me like put it down some,
Yeah,
be more present. Because just like what I just did, where I just ask her what the president is. Well, I also have it all set up to where, hey, remind me to do this, and then or remind me to do this. As long as you know how to say the language, right? You can't just say remind me to do this. You go remind me to do this at 3 o'clock
right.
with this person. And now I got it set so where, okay, cool, it kicks me an email to remind me, it sends me a notification to remind me, it adds it to my calendar. When anything gets added to my calendar, it also kicks an email to my wife so that she knows what's going on. It gets added to her calendar. I set it all up that way
Oh damn.
so that it's kind of hard for me to mess up some stuff like that sometimes. Despite that, I still do it
Yeah,
because I'm an idiot.
yeah. Do you think that we have to name these things, Alexa, Siri, like human names so that we don't completely freak out that we're basically asking almighty internet to tell us something?
I don't know, man. With Siri, it's Siri. With Alexa, it's Alexa. With Microsoft, it's Cortana. I just found out.
No, they didn't. Oh, that's from Halo. Hey, look at the shirt I'm wearing right now. This is a Halo shirt. Cortana was like the little holographic lady in Master Chief's head who told him that he was fucking up and should go the other direction.
That makes sense. I never got into that game. I was not in video games at that time.
Mm.
Really not in them now. But with the Google, it's Hey Google.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Hey Google. Okay Google. Whatever.
it's embarrassing to say, but one of the first words that my son, learned was Google, and he thought everything was Google. So he would ask for my phone, and he'd just reach and say, "Google, Google." Yeah, so take that for what it's worth.
We go from that with a conversation.
Well, yeah, we got way too deep. We need to bring it back. So your jujitsu. How's your jujitsu these days? You said that your back is sore. Do you find that it defines what you can do and what you can't in a roll?
Oh yeah, but I mean, I don't think I'm injured. I don't have a real back injury right now. I'm just like I got a little crick in my lower back. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually healing an injury right now.
Oh yeah, you got your foot busted.
Yeah, it got proper wrecked.
What happened?
Yeah, it was a super fight about a week ago, 8 days now, and it's just starting to stop being puffy. Like it's still pretty swollen, very miscolored.
Was it a foot lock?
Yeah, yeah, it was a toe hold. Deepest toe hold I've ever been in. You know, with a toe hold,
Good news though.
yeah, it is and it isn't because there's a lot of ligaments that get twisted and ruptured, which isn't good.
There's not. It's just like rolling your ankle playing ball.
Yeah, but I know people have rolled their ankles that have had to have surgery on their tendons and their ligaments, so I'm hoping it's not that bad. But
People had surgery, baby.
yeah, they'd have surgery if they had a toothache. Um, but anyways, like I had him in a footlock earlier, the same type of toe hold, and heard a pop, and I thought at that point I win, but he wanted to keep going. He didn't tap. I was like, oh shoot, because I kind of let up after I heard the pop, like yeah, yeah, oh no, okay, we're still going. And it got a little looser, and then he got out, and then later in the match, he got my foot, and it made a pop, and he did not hesitate to keep twisting past the pop, and it crackled like a bundle of twigs.
You know, man, I tell my students and myself, I had to tell myself this, which is how I know to tell my students this. You need to know heading in to any competition what kind of man you are. If you need to have this answered ahead of time. Are you the kind of man who'll break a guy's arm if given the opportunity? There's no right or wrong answer. You just need to know because there's a strong chance you're going to get the opportunity to break a man's arm. And if you have a moment of hesitation, what happens with your toe hold is going to happen.
Yeah.
And you need to also know, are you the kind of man who's going to let his arm get broken? Again, there's no right or wrong answer to that question, but you need to know going in because if you wait until the heat of the moment to make a decision, you'll make an emotional, irrational decision potentially. And you may make the decision you would have made had you had time to think about it. It's simply a yes or no, I will or I will not. So, you got a 50-50 flip of the coin on what you might actually do. But if you make it a decision based on your emotion, based on the passion of the moment that you wouldn't have normally made, when you get home, you're going to be a very sad boy for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so if you can accurately answer that question for yourself, am I the type of person that can break an arm, break a foot, whatever the question is, would that be in your estimation what you should be focusing on because of that answer? So say the answer is no, should you be focusing on passing, pressure, chokes, stuff that's not quite so violent?
No, I don't know. I mean,
Well, if you had a student that said, no, I couldn't break somebody's arm, would you say, well, then you should practice your arm bars? Or would you say maybe go to something that doesn't involve breaking an arm?
well, because see, here's the thing. I am not going to let you break my arm in any setting. I don't care if there's $100,000 on the line. I'm not letting you break my arm. I'm going to tap. You can have the money.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't bat an eye at breaking yours. Not an eye. There won't be a thought out of my mind about breaking yours. Not one. So just know that going in. If I catch yours, I'm going to the bitter end. If you catch mine, you're the king. You got it. And if you know that going in, then you'll make the decision that you intend to make. Now, I realize that probably prevents me from being a high-level competitor, which luckily I'm not good enough nor inclined to eat properly enough to be a high-level competitor in the first place. So I don't have to worry about it. I just got to, am I good enough to bust a dude's arm at Naga? But no, I don't think you steer away from it because, whether you're willing to break my arm or not, you don't have to find out if we square off against each other in competition because I'm going to tap early enough. You weren't going to break my arm, but I didn't know that, and it didn't matter to me. I was tapping.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely could have tapped to that toe hold faster than I did. I waited until it was way past turn. You know what I mean?
Although, when you get to that spot where you're like, man, I'm caught. I'm not getting out.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, too, is...
Break it? I did that with a knee bar one time.
Yeah.
At Gracie World. Guy grabbed a knee bar, and he looked at me. He gave me every opportunity to tap. He looked at me, and he was like, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders.
Yeah, like, you sure?
And I just looked at him dead in the eye, and I shook my head. I went, nope. He went, okay. Wow! Popped my knee super hard.
Ugh,
I was fine.
yeah. Yeah, well, I think part of my problem was I definitely had somewhat of an ego issue at least halfway through that match because it was one of those situations, if you watch the whole match, where I was winning until I lost. So it was a bit of a Hail Mary for my opponent, who was 9 points to 0 at that point and had just been attacked 3 times and narrowly survived. So when he grabbed an attack on me, I don't lose this match. I'm winning. I'm way ahead. There's no way that I lose this match. And then my foot went crack, 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 crack. I'm like, oh shit, I just lost the match.
That's the beauty of this game, man, is that it can turn on a dime instantly.
Yeah, and it's all my fault. It's looking back on it, like I gave him a submission by making a mistake, and he grabbed it before I realized I made a mistake, and that was game.
That's the way it works, huh?
Yeah, it's the beauty and the ugly of the thing. You can't even be mad.
Nah, you really can't. I mean, well, no, that's right. You could. It just would be stupid.
Well, don't get me wrong, it's frustrating knowing that I was beating this guy in a super fight publicly very, very well. I felt like I was doing very well. Everything that I was wanting to do was happening, and then I lost. So it makes me frustrated, but I get it.
You touched the real issue that most of us run into with competition publicly.
Yeah.
And how you feel about those people watching probably determines more about your performance than your actual skill set.
Yeah, it can definitely be a mitigating factor. I remember, come to think of it, one of the times when it's most potent in my brain of that being the case is in my first MMA fight. And I think that there was probably, I don't know, 1,000 people in the stands. And I had my opponent in an armbar a couple minutes in. And I remember the crowd going bonkers, just completely crazy. And at that moment, I should have been focusing on finishing the armbar, but I was focusing on, wow, wow, this is insane. I've never heard so many people roar for something that I'm doing literally right now. Like I'm kind of like making them cheer for me, which is cool. And it took the time for me to think about that for my opponent to escape the armbar, you know? But it definitely changed. It might have changed the outcome of that match because I ended up losing by knockout a couple minutes later. But I had him dead to rights, and I remember just getting lost in the moment when everyone was cheering.
I I'm definitely susceptible to what I mean. I guess we all are, but I'm a sucker for the crowd. I'm a sucker. You know, like oh Brandon, you're doing great. I'll keep going. I'll go until my legs fall off if that's what you guys like. Oh Brandon, you suck. I'll never do it again. I like to be on stage. I'm a people pleaser for sure. That's one of the best things about me. But at the same time, it's like one of the most awful things about me as well. It's led to a tremendous amount of success in my life, and then the places where I've found a tremendous lack of success, I can almost always point back to that being a factor of it.
Yeah. It's that balance we were talking about before, is how much do you take personally from other people's input.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's a great dichotomy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be both super important to you and of no consequence whatsoever. It's like a suspension bridge, I guess. It's that tension between the two opposites is what holds the bridge up. And that's what allows that chasm to be crossed. That mighty chasm that could never be crossed is only held up because of the two opposite truths acting in the exact same amount of force.
That was so deep. You're not high right now, are you?
Man, I should be.
that was
even.
That was meta. Well, that might be the best place to end this one, Brandon. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Yumi and Us for episode 2.
I'm pretty excited. I'm a little disappointed though that you had Roth as number 1.
Yeah, no, I had to though. He was there at like the beginning of Because Jitsu. He helped me get a lot of things started, so I kind of, in my mind, I owed it to him to be the beginning of this.
You know what, man? Roth is genuinely one of my favorite people in our industry. He You know, the first person really that kind of gave me any attention outside of my own academy was him. You know, I mean, outside of like the 10th Planet, I should say.
Sure.
You know, he found that video of what was the first one? I think it was when I did the I Dominated Eddie video.
Oh yeah, yeah, the music video.
And or the song. At that time, I think it was just the song. But he got that, and he was like, "Dude, we got to get this guy on." And then, you know, he kept having me on his podcast. So I was never on anybody's podcast until I was already on his like 4 times. And then he was, you know, giving me encouragement to start my own podcast, which I shuffled my feet on for a long time. And now I'm like, oh man, I'll try.
Yep.
I really feel like I'm what 20, today's the 24th. I'm 24 days into a daily podcast. I'm like, man, this is the most important thing that I'm doing every day.
Yeah, it's exciting. Hey, it gives you a bit of motivation.
For having me on.
Yeah, and on that note, throw a plug out for your podcast.
Okay, so it's on iTunes, Google Play Store. I put it up on YouTube every day. It's called BMAX Audio Adventure. So it started out as, you know, real similar to what we just did. Just have somebody on and let's talk. You know, talk jujitsu, talk whatever. And I started, and it was doing okay, but I wasn't super motivated. Then I had an engineer that was working, that's kind of doing it for me and set it all up. And then I lost him. Just, you know, he had like other like life responsibilities we had to give more attention to, and he couldn't. And so, man, dang, what am I going to do? I don't want to stop the podcast because I can see the value of it, and you know, I've spent a lot of effort getting it going. So I had to go in and like, learn how to do all this engineer side of the podcast on my own, which got me motivated and got some extra skin in the game, got more invested.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? I'm going to start doing a daily one. Because I heard Gary Vaynerchuk actually talking. He was doing a Q&A at the end of one of his talks, and there was this chiropractor. She was like, Gary, I've been watching a bunch of your videos, and I noticed that when you are on your phone, your head drops at this angle, and if you would pull your ears back to this angle, and you take away a bunch of, you put an extra 50 pounds of pressure on your head. Anyway, he just talks about that, and he goes, and then she asked her a question about business. He goes, do you have a tip like that about the human body? Do you have 365 of those? And she goes, oh, yeah. He goes, you need to do a daily podcast.
Wow.
Jump on and do those. And like, oh, my God, that's what I need. Like, I can ramble about jiu-jitsu for hours a day.
Yeah.
So that's what I decided to do. And it's been, again, dude, it's brand new. It's 24 days old. We call it BJJ 365, and it got 10,000 downloads in the first 2 weeks, which was pretty exciting to me, man. So anyway, the podcast is called BMAX Audio Adventure, and if you could jump on and do a subscribe, rate, do that whole thing, that would be a big deal to me. And then if there's ever anything that I can do for any of you that are listening on any level, please don't hesitate to let me know. I want to be a resource and a help to the community. I don't want to be the dude who just sucks away your time and like bothers you on social media. I want to help you. I genuinely want to help you. So please don't hesitate to let me know.
That's awesome, and I can vouch for that. Brandon's very reachable. He's obviously very personable. He's got that sweetheart down home Alabama accent that everybody wants to hear. So, again, thanks a lot for coming on, Brandon. I'll let you get ready for your open mat.
Yeah, well, listen, before we go, let me take a moment to say thank you to you for having me on, first of all, but beyond that, for just becoming a good friend and mentor to me as I try to navigate my way through this social media stuff. What you've been for me has been very important, and I don't take it for granted. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anytime. So, take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back a little bit later in this week. We got some good guests coming up too. I'll throw some plugs out as the week progresses, but we will see you on the next one on You, Me, and Us.